We don't get no respect no more, folks. Look at this. This is on the internet, not hidden away. It was one of the first things that comes up when you punch in to Google about the Benedict the 16th retiring. You get a thing like this. I think this is supposed to have been from the London Guardian, but I'm not sure. The Guardian of London. I'm not sure about that. It's amazing, isn't it? I promise this time, say a word or two about the Vatican Bank. And I do so to show you the tendency for reform just never to happen. Just in recent months, there's been $30 million of money from that bank that was being transferred through phony accounts, and the Italian government got caught onto it and they impounded the money. And the bank is going through all kinds of things. Well, it's a big mistake, and well, we're not very good bookkeepers. Well, they're very good bookkeepers. And there's all crazy things. Well, the mafia is back into the bank, and there was one operation. It was, I think, a couple $100,000. It wasn't much money, but it's so funny because it had something to do with a fish farm. What is the Vatican doing in regard to money for a fish farm? It's just laundering. They use it for the mafia uses the Vatican Bank to launder money. Money produced by crimes is taken to the Vatican Bank and sanitized, and out it comes. It's good money, good money. Well, of course, what's happened is that we know about it because the Italian press has picked it up. But there's also things like this Archbishop Vigano, who is one of the administrators of the Vatican. He's been making noises about the corruption in the Vatican beyond the bank even, and he's been pushed aside. He's been made Benedict XVI sent him to Washington, D.C. to become the nuncio. They'll do anything to keep the lid on. And, of course, you got the press problem of the butler. The butler is leaking all kinds of stuff. That's getting into the press. And whether or not we're going to have a full disclosure, it's hard to say. But right now, I'll tell you this, it's leaking. The Vatican is really leaking. I think it's one of the reasons why Benedict is getting out. And then he can pretend, I didn't do anything about it. Oh my God! How could these things happen? I didn't. I pray so much, you know. I say so many Hail Marys. I hardly think about feeding myself or going to the toilet or anything. I just, you know, that's his excuse. Background of this thing. Originally, the Vatican Bank. Incidentally, I have two posts on this thing. If you'll go down the list of my, and you'll find that one of them got 3,500 hits. So, having to do with the bank, I recommend you go there because I go through that in great detail. But here I'll just give you a sketch of it. The bank was formed during World War II because the bank couldn't conduct its business. The Vatican couldn't conduct its businesses because of the turmoil in the banking world because of the war. So they formed a bank. And it chugged along, and almost immediately was corrupted. And there was a Pope Paul VI. He took over. I'm not quite sure. He died, I know, in 1978. At any rate, Paul VI, during his papacy, he put in charge of that bank a Archbishop Martinkus. And this guy, you know what his qualifications were to be a banker? He was the Pope's bodyguard. You put a man like that in charge of a bank? Those were his qualifications. Well, of course, it was just absolutely perfect because then the bank just... Moreover, Paul, he was something of he was so many ways a dull-wit fellow. He had amongst his friends a man by the name of Sindona. Sindona brought all kinds of money to the church. Well, sure he did. He was a member of the New York Mafia as part of the Carlo Gambino mob, believe it or not. He was heavily involved in the Vatican Bank. And also a chap by the name of Calvi, C-A-L-V-I, Calvi. Calvi was the head of a bank outside of the Vatican. It was called the Bank Ambrosiano. And it was simply a house of cards. It was all just fake stuff. It was just Ponzi schemes. It was just everything you could imagine that was criminal. That was Calvi's operation at the Banco Ambrosiano. Paul VI died, as I say, in 1978, and when he did, there was a new pope, John Paul I. Now, many of you are going to say that name seems familiar, but you probably don't realize that this guy only had a papacy of 33 days. 33 days. The one you're thinking about is John Paul II, who took, after these 33 days, we have a new pope. John Paul I died under very mysterious circumstances. He was said to be doing two things. He was said to be looking at the bank and the financial transactions, and he was also looking into the matter of the sex and the Catholic Church, that is to say, regarding birth control and the sexual conduct of its members. He died, as I say, under very, very mysterious circumstances. When John Paul II came into power, he did nothing to address the matter of the bank. So things just went along until finally this bank, Ambrosiana, got itself into so much trouble that it went belly up. And Calvi was found hanging from the Friars Bridge in London, Blackfriars Bridge, from a rope. It was typical mafia stuff. But the police said, oh, it was a suicide. Well, of course, none of any kind. And it's now admitted he was murdered. Turned out at this point that the Bank of Ambrosiana was owned, the majority shares of that bank were owned by the Vatican Bank. The Vatican Bank had been ineffective and been involved in all this stuff. Now, once again, the bank is under intense scrutiny, and which is one thing it cannot bear, absolutely cannot bear. And so one of the last acts, official acts of Benedict XVI, was the appointment of a new man to head the bank. His name is Ernst von Freiberg. And it turns out he was born in Switzerland, though he's a German, and he seems to know a good deal about finance, and I guess that's okay. He's a member of the Knights of Malta, which I hold against him because this is one of these secret things like Opus Dei. It's one of these semi-fascist kind of things, which means that he'll take direction from the cardinals. He's not going to cut an independent course, not possible. But anyway, he'll have the pretense of doing so. So there it is. And if you have your 401ks or anything of that sort, or little life savings, you little ladies out there that may be listening to me, put your money in the Vatican Bank. You can get a hell of a return. A hell of a return. I'll see you soon.